Our conversations continue here in Davos 2024. Joining me now is Infosys' Salil Parekh. Salil, many thanks for joining us, and it's great to have you here joining us in Davos. You've probably had a bunch of client meetings already over the last 2 days that you've been here. What's the mood that you're picking up on? What's the temperature like?
So first, thanks for having me here, Shireen. Wonderful to be here. The client meetings are just extremely good, very positive thinking from most of the clients. Economies in Europe, US looking like they're coming to maybe not yet in terms of full recovery, but at least they see their work behind them in terms of what the issues were. Of course, the conversations are positive, but we want to make sure we see that translated into what we do in terms of digital programs.
So the mood is positive. Is it better than what you were expecting? And what does that indicate in terms of their ability to go out there and spend? Because that has been the key concern.
Right. So we've not seen a change in clients starting to put digital programs in yet, but the way the discussions are going, there's a lot of interest in all of those conversations. There's also interest in cost and efficiency takeout. And then there's, of course, a very strong theme on generative AI, which is all across the World Economic Forum.
But it's still wait and watch then, largely.
Yeah, so there's no new change from what we saw in the quarter, which we announced last week for Q3. It's not that we see new programs immediately starting, but what I find is the way clients are discussing things, they have a positive frame.
You know, let's talk about the quarter, Salil. And of course, you did speak, but we didn't get an opportunity to really go dig deeper into what could have led to what has been a fairly difficult FY23 for you. And if I were to just take a look at what's happened in the year, 2 guidance cuts, 1 tightening, you started with 4 to 7%, ended at 1.5 to 2%. What would you attribute this to?
So the main things we saw, as you might know, in Q1 and Q2 were where we saw the digital programs not becoming part of what clients were doing. So most of the focus was on cost and efficiency, automation, lean programs. That part of the business was doing well. And then if you look at it from an industry perspective, financial services, telco, high-tech, that's where we saw most of the impact, whereas manufacturing, life sciences, these industries were doing well. And then if you look at in Q3 specifically, Europe was growing quite nicely, and US is where we saw the impact. So those were the dynamics as we came into the year. Now, we do have to keep in mind the previous year we had 15% and the year before 19%. So we had already a strong base that was coming in. And now we see a real focus much more on cost takeout, efficiency that's been going on, and many more discussions on generative AI.
So, you know, as far as generative AI is concerned, it's very hard to make your way around Davos without having a conversation around generative AI. But in the near term, realistically, what is it going to mean for you as a company? You know, I was just talking to the global CEO of PwC, and he said we're overestimating, perhaps his view, in the near term, the impact and the implications of generative AI, and perhaps underestimating it in the long term. But how are you reading that at this point in time? What are you doing about it?
So our sense is every client is looking at what generative AI can do for them. And there are already, yesterday we had a discussion where I heard a large company CEO talking about tremendous benefits they've seen, for example, in customer service area. We've seen benefits in software development using large language models. So the benefits are there. Now the question is how the scaling is going to come. Our approach we've shared before is what we call the narrow transformer approach, which is really focused on the data within a company. And there you get tremendous benefits and potentially less impact of hallucinations and so on. So we think that will really accelerate. We don't have a view on what the trajectory of that is.
But what could it potentially be, and what kind of investments would you need to make in order for you to be able to beef up the capabilities on this side?
So for us, the investments are massive. You know, we've ourselves positioned as an AI-first company, so we're using all of these things inside. We have assistants, AI assistants now for each of our functions, whether you look at HR, recruiting, sales, delivery. So that is a transformation inside. We have 100,000 employees trained on generative AI, different large language models, and on various ways to look at the data architecture, which is going to become the key. So our investments are huge. Topaz, our AI capability drives all of this. We now have to see, what is the speed of adoption that different clients will look at, and different industries.
And that's what I was getting at. Where do you believe we're going to see an accelerated pace of adoption? Are there any sectors in specific where you believe that the conversations are far ahead, and maybe somewhere it's still incipient?
So here, the discussions are in each of the industries, but the overlay is still where clients are not spending on transformation programs. So my sense is what we were driving with digital transformation, with a cloud foundation, will be now enhanced with an AI or generative AI transformation. So when that, by industry, as people start to look at the ability to spend, this will start to come back.
So if the mood is cautious, it's still wait and watch, and you believe that the spends will be largely on cost efficiency and not so much on the transformation kind of deals that you were hoping for. What could that then mean as far as margins are concerned in the near term? And when do you realistically expect, your peers are talking about a pent-up demand situation playing itself out. Do you see that as well?
So a couple of things on that. First, on margin, we put in place several quarters ago a very comprehensive program on margin expansion. And that, in part, has given us the underlying strength of the margin, even in Q3. And even as we go ahead, we've got detailed views on 5 pillars, various tracks, a big mobilization. So my sense is that is going to give us tremendous benefit. And in this sort of an environment...
How would you quantify tremendous benefit in terms of margin expansion?
It'll be quite large, is my sense, because the way we are working on it in an environment where cost efficiency for clients is paramount and where growth was not as visible, we've taken the opportunity to make our operations more efficient. So we see that as a real change in the way we're running the business. On the second part, I don't know, I think you mentioned about the pent-up demand.
Yeah.
My sense is there is a need in companies for this sort of a transformation. The question, at least in our minds, is when clients will start to see that. And we are not, at least we don't have a guess on that, but we'll see it when it happens.
TCS talking about green shoots in BFSI, is that something that you're seeing as well?
We have no. So what we commented on was that the environment remains similar to what we saw in Q2, neither better, neither worse.
You talked about the efforts underway to expand margins. In light of the experience of FY23, which, as I pointed out, has been a tough year, any other course correction, any other changes that you're likely to make or are planning to make?
So in terms of changes, firstly, the margin is more an evolution. So not really a big change in direction. We always have a high margin approach. Our strategy, I think, is firmly in place, which is focused on digital, AI, cloud, cost and efficiency. A big focus on really large transformation programs or large deals, which we had 3.2 billion in Q3, 70% net new. So we see good strength in that. And then continuous focus on making sure that our margins are in good shape and really elevating our brand. We've, have now Rafael Nadal as a brand ambassador, IGA. So it's really taking us to a different level with the way we are showcasing what Infosys is doing.
You talked about deals, and there was a cancellation announcement that came in of an MOU, and I know that you said that you will not comment any further on that. But what seems to have gone wrong there?
So there, as we had shared in the announcement we made at that time, the MOU was terminated, but there's no other sort of additional comment from our side there.
Okay, let's talk about what we're seeing happen as far as the talent wars are concerned, and there's plenty going on in Indian tech at this point in time. A couple of your former colleagues are here in Davos in new avatars, starting out new innings as well. Is that a concern? Senior exits at the leadership level?
No, first, I think all of our Infosys leaders are fantastic, and I'm really delighted. They're good friends also. Really delighted they're in those roles. We are fortunate. We very quickly put together the structure where a lot of people from within have moved into new, larger responsibility roles, and that seems to be working really well. My sense is we have, even today, a really deep bench of leadership people. So I don't see any real concerns. In fact, there's a huge energy, and sometimes with change, you get some new focus and attention as well.
So on that front, I mean, are you reviewing or re-looking, at the way that your leadership roles are at this point in time, given the exits?
No, we announced that maybe 9 months ago. So it's all done. There was no change in the structure. The same structure, a very strong focus on go-to-market with industries, very strong delivery organization, and these are individuals who've been with the company 20, 25 years. Very strong Infosys approach. So really fortunate to have that.
What is unusual, and it's playing out across different companies differently. We've got Wipro that's suing Jatin Dalal, and that matter is now in arbitration. We understand that you've written to Cognizant about a no poaching sort of informal agreement. What's going on as far as these talent wars are concerned?
So I read some media reports about that. So no comments from our side on that.
So you haven't written?
No comments from our side on what I read in the media about it. But I know I also saw some sort of company suing another company. I'm sure that goes on. Yeah.
Well, Salil, it's always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here in Davos. Appreciate your time. We wish you the very best of luck for the year ahead, and look forward to hearing more from you through the year.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
Well, we are going to take a break here, but the conversations will continue. We're back in a moment. That was Salil Parekh of Infosys. More coming up on CNBC TV 18.